Alright, so it's been about 2 weeks since I've recorded anything for this series. I really didn't do a whole lot of trading over the last 2 weeks. I did take a couple trades, I'll run over them and I'll kind of make this a shorter episode. But I have not been trading very actively recently for a couple reasons. I've been working a lot, and also it's summertime. The summers have been typically where things slow down, and for that reason I don't trade as actively during the summer. But this time, I mean, we may be seeing something different. I think we're in different conditions than we have been in previous summers. But still, the days that I do, wake up, trade during New York Open and even before it, I don't know, it just seems like there have not been as many trades as I would hope. But I'm going to keep trying. I think this week I will have some days that I can dedicate to trading, and maybe I can actually, record some extra content for these videos instead of just doing like an end of the week recap. I do want to include some more live trading into it. But this week is just going to be a recap, and I'm going to run over the few trades that I took. And we're going to see, A, did I have a profitable 2 weeks of trading, and B, am I still actually in the green from where we last left off, considering that I factored in the unrealized profit from my ETH trade. So we'll take a look at that as well. So starting off, I did not take a trade until the 25th. I was watching the charts all week during that first week, and I did not take a trade until Friday. And this one was actually, a trade I'm pretty proud of. I think I executed on this one pretty well, despite the fact that it could have been a lot better. Bitcoin had come down to the low of a range, a very important point. We took out a significant level, the low of a range that we formed after putting in all-time high, so this is a very significant range. And we began ranging at the low, and eventually we ended up breaking that range bullishly, also breaking a lower high in the downtrend. And at the time that I entered, we were retracing to backtest the range. Now, this is a very deep backtest of the range. I was looking at some other long ideas towards the high of the range. I thought that was, a better area of confluence. I would have preferred to bounce from this zone, but I did not enter a trade. There were not the confirmations that I was hoping for there, which kept me out of entering a bad trade because we did end up retracing deeper into that range, and I think there was a reason for doing that. I think the point of control of that range was towards the low end of it. So yeah, a lot of volume down towards the low end of that range. We actually ended up going a bit deeper than that. I was a bit less confident in this long trade at this point. We were retracing pretty far into this range, and we were just coming off of a lot of bearishness. So it was very possible that maybe we just continue lower from here, start actually, maybe retracing from all-time high. But despite that, when I saw confirmations to enter long, I did. This was supposed to be half of my 1% entry, but I filled at a bad spot. So what that means is I was actually looking to enter along something like this, where I enter, I don't know, I'm just guessing, but roughly around there with the same stop loss. And this was going to be my first entry. I was going to try and start scaling into longs, so I would enter with a scalp risk, a 0.5% risk, and then look for a separate long trade where I enter with the other 0.5%. Because again, I was not as confident in longing the confirmation since we had retraced this deep into the range. We started pumping very aggressively, and by the time I actually clicked long, I got filled at this price. I ended up risking about $4 instead of like the $2.50 that I was planning on risking. I think this did impact my decision to not enter a second trade. I think I was watching price though, and I just did not see confirmations to enter my second trade. But even if there were, I might have been hesitant to, since I was just in so much risk with this trade. Did impact my risk reward as well. It impacted how I could manage this trade, because I needed to see basically a further move to the upside to be able to take profit and de-risk this trade. But we just rolled with the punches. I got in a long regardless, and it started working out for me. And eventually I did hit my TP1 on it. This green dot marks my TP1. I took it as we SFP'd this high. We were already around where I wanted to target. We were at about a 4-to-1. We were beginning to backtest some ranges that we broke down from up here, so I wanted to take profit while I had it, and also started to look like, we may be curling over, looking for a backtest, and I was looking for a long if we did backtest, because what you'll notice here is that we are continuing this uptrend. So I was looking for, another long opportunity, looking for a higher low to continue the uptrend. But I do not believe we got that retrace. I think we just continued moving to the upside. I took my second TP up here, My first TP was at 117,600 about. I closed half of my position there and I locked in a profit of $7.7. So almost a 2-to-1. I was risking $4 to begin with, and I still had half my trade open. The second TP, I closed a quarter of the half that was remaining and I locked in another $2.2. For my third TP, I hit it as we began approaching these highs over here, and I closed out a little bit less than I did for this one. It was about 1/3 of my remaining, and I locked in $2.60. Moving on to the next trade, I attempted another long over here, which did get stopped out. This one was a loss. I lost $2.99. I will show you the position in a minute. I just don't want to spoil this first trade. And the only other trade I took is hidden over here behind this line. It's kind of hard to see, but I will skip forward to that. At this point, Bitcoin was more or less ranging after getting this move to the upside, and it looks like I was looking for a long around the low of this range. So we had taken out the low of the range, kind of a deep move below it, but it was a quick rebound, and it looks like we started breaking lower time frame structure. So I attempted a long trade. Looking back, I would say this is a valid enough trade to take. It just kind of ended up being a weird one because I could not de-risk this one once we, got a move to the upside. It wasn't a green for a little bit. This one was on Antarctic, and I took a bit more of a loss than I intended to. I think with this one, what might have happened is I might have not gotten hit right here. I might have even played that game where I moved my stop loss to the downside. But I think we might have gotten an aggressive candle here. So let's play it through, and yep, there it was. So I think I got filled somewhere around this area, because this was meant to be a scalp trade, so I was, aiming to risk about 0.5%, which was probably, I don't know, $2.75, something like that. And that is it. Those were all the trades that I took. So if I go to a higher time frame and play this one out a bit more, let's see how my first long trade ended up. And with this one, truthfully, at this point, I was considering exiting while I was still in profit. My issue was that we were kind of struggling to break structure to the downside. We came down to a higher low, but it was more so an SFP, and then we came down to the low of the SFP and got another SFP. So this kind of sucks because all this does is just kind of move my mental invalidation down. Originally it was if we broke structure, I'll close the trade, but we didn't really break here. So now that point is lower, and once again, that is moving it down even closer to my entry, meaning I can lock in less profit. And at this point, I was thinking, well, we got support pretty close below us, and if we just keep SFPing lower and lower, maybe eventually we end up holding and moving back to the upside. So I think I just moved my stop loss back down to my entry at this point. If I continue playing it out, we eventually came down to my support and actually held. This did not take out my stop loss, but we came pretty dang close at this point. There really was no safe way to de-risk this unless I was trusting very low time frame structure. So again, I just decided to leave my stop loss where it was below this wick low, which, if I continue playing out, did eventually get tagged, which locked me in about $12.70. Not a bad trade, but thanks to the 2 losses that I took this week, I really did not end up being anything special. I ended the week with, I don't know, $5 or $6 profit. Now, what about the unrealized profit from my ETH trade? Because as we know, things have been a little bearish the past week and a half, and Bitcoin's down a fair bit, so is Ethereum. But I am still in my ETH trade. I am still sitting with my stop loss, kind of close to my entry. I have not moved it up yet. Same kind of deal. I kind of have a mental invalidation going on with ETH, and so far we are holding my support zone. And if I go over to my positions, have lost a fair amount of unrealized profit. I think my unrealized was, close to $50 in profit during my last recording. Maybe I'll throw in a clip of that to fact check. It seems like I have lost more than, the $5 or $6 that I gained this week. So I think we are going to end up at a loss from my last episode, but let me go ahead and plug in everything. We will take inventory here. And there we go, we've plugged everything in, and it does seem like we are going to be at a loss, minus about $10 from our last episode. And let's also update the chart. We'll see a little tick to the downside, but nothing too bad. The fact that this move to the downside was based on unrealized profit, not my actual trading. That is, a bit of a confidence booster, I'd say. In reality, my realized profit has made a swing to the upside. So that's it for this episode. Thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment. And also consider checking out the other episodes in the series. I do have a playlist on my channel with every episode on it. So yeah, consider checking that out as well. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you all in the next one.